Chapter 31 of The Ghosts of Tupelo Landing. This chapter is called A Business Offer. "Grandmother Miss Lacey," I shouted later that morning, pounding up her steps. "We got your cure!" "Over here, dear," she called from behind a potted fern. I skidded to a halt. "Water," I announced, holding out the jar. "From spring number 7, Dale added, and she jumped like he pinched her. The front door squeaked open. "Harm Crenshaw? Here?" "There you are, dear," Grandmother Miss Lacey said. "Like having him was as normal as permanent teeth. Do you mind bringing 4 glasses? They're in the cupboard by the sink." "What are you doing here?" I asked, staring at Harm. He smiled at me, bleary-eyed, still wearing last night's clothes. "He's cheering up an old woman," Grandmother Miss Lacey replied. Harm leaned against the doorframe. "Actually, I came over with a business offer from Gramps, but she turned me down," he said. He looked at her. "You sure you won't change your mind?" "Positive," she said. "That money is Red's, but he'd best move it if he wants it. Filch won't be as generous as Lena and I are." "Think it over," he said. "If you change your mind, I'll bring the blueprints." Red Baker's treasure map. Since when would Mr. Red part with that? And why would he give it to Harm? "Excuse me if I'm accidentally not sensitive," I said, and Dale went tense beside me. "But Mr. Red's a hateful old miser, which, thank heavens, you only got part of his DNA, giving you a scientific shot at being nice. So how did you get those blueprints? He won't even let you in the house." "Red and I had a heart-to-heart talk last night," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. Not likely. For that to be true, Red Baker would have had to have a heart. "A 50-50 split makes sense, Miss Thornton," he said. "Red owns the map, you own the land." Harm might be lying about Mr. Red, but his plan made sense. I looked at Grandmother Miss Lacey. "You need the money," I told her. She patted her blue hair into place. "It's a wonderful offer, Harm. I'll call Red and thank him." "No," Harm said. "I mean, that would embarrass him." I'll tell him for you." "Fine. Now if you would fetch those glasses." Moments later, the door swung open and Harm backed onto the porch, awkwardly balancing 4 juice glasses on a small tray. "Thank you," she said, as she set them on a table. "Spring number 7. Mo, would you pour?" I filled the glasses and passed them around. She lifted hers. "To your health, my friends." She closed her eyes and sipped like she could taste her childhood. Delicious. "Glad you like it," I said, giving the swing a nudge and setting it rocking. "We can bring you water every day, if you want, to steady your nerves." "It's way better than you dying," Dale added, giving her a smile. "Dying? I'm not dying," she said, reaching over to knock on the porch rail. Grandmother Miss Lacey superstitious. "Who on earth told you I'm dying?" Dale turned to me, his blue eyes accusing. "You said life or death. Me and Liz got up at 4 o'clock this morning." "I said maybe. Besides, it felt like life or death at 4 o'clock. "Many things feel like life or death at 4 a.m., she said. "They generally look better in their day clothes." Harm poured himself another glass of water. "No," Dale whispered. "You're supposed to fill their glasses first." Harm topped off our 4 glasses. "Yes, I'm fit as a fiddle," she said. "Just ashamed of letting everyone down." My heart sank a little. "We're really going to lose the inn, then?" "Probably," she said. "I'm sorry, Mo." She closed her eyes. For a minute, I thought she was praying. "My yard's an absolute mess," she said, sitting up straight. I scanned the yard, which stood ankle-deep in red maple leaves and sweet gum balls. "I can't do the yard work at the moment. Doctor's orders. What would you 3 charge me to do it?" Harm hopped to his feet. "Nothing. Where do you keep the rakes?" "In the garage," she said. "And certainly I'll pay you. I'm not that broke. But I am tired." "Why don't you come back this afternoon?" she said. "We'll have refreshments and straighten this place out." "Besides," I told Harm, "we got some work to do." "At the inn," Dale prompted. "Right," he said, and yawned. "Let's go." We soon dumped our bikes on the inn's lawn and headed for the steps. "Hold it, Harm," I said. "How'd you get those blueprints? Mr. Red would never give them to you. He probably wouldn't even let you see them." "That's right," Dale said. "He pretty much hates your guts." "Thanks for reminding me," Harm muttered, heading up the steps. "Give me time to settle things, okay? I'll tell you when I can." I looked at Dale, who shrugged. "Thanks," Harm said, opening the inn's door. "Let's get this done." It took less than a minute to pull out the open drawers and search them. Nothing. Harm squinted at the lock on the last drawer and reached into his pocket. He pulled out Miss Rose's tiny screwdriver, the one she uses on her eyeglasses. Funny he thought to bring that, I thought, since he'd planned to be back at Dale's before morning. He leaned over the desk, at eye level with the lock. He slid the tiny screwdriver into the keyhole and jiggled it. "Come on, baby," he whispered, sounding too much like Flick. "Got it!" he cried, and slid the drawer open. Dale and I crowded close. "What's in there?" I asked. "Nothing," Harm said, looking bewildered. "Check the outsides then," I said. "Nellie wanted us to see something." Dale pulled the drawer out and flipped it over. Nothing on the bottom, the sides, the back. He slid the drawer into place and opened it again. It snagged. I thought of my Salvation Army desk. "Let me try," I said. I grabbed the small brass knob, slid the drawer out, and slipped my arm all the way into the space. "Good idea," Harm said, as my fingers closed around a paper in the very back of the desk. I tugged the old paper free and smoothed it against the desk. "A letter," I said, staring at the faded brown ink. "To Nellie." Dale gulped. "I hope she doesn't mind us reading it." He nibbled at his lip. "Aren't there laws about opening other people's mail?" The cursive slanted tall and even across the paper. "It's from her father," I said. Upstairs, a door slammed. We looked up as footsteps hurried along the hall and down the steps. Nellie clattered to a halt halfway down. I didn't blame her. I'd be too nervous to come closer, too. I turned toward her and read, "Darling Nellie, forgive my greed, forgive my temper, forgive my ridiculous disagreement with Truman. How I wish he'd killed me and not you. I'd give my world to hear you laugh again. Father." Nellie plunked down on the stairs. "I'd sit down too," I said softly. "Looks like Truman Baker did tamper with Nellie's car," Dale whispered. The room went ice cold. Dale crossed his arms. "Please, Nellie," he said, "I didn't bring a jacket." "Truman Baker," Harm said. "That's Red's father. And my great-grandfather." He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry, Nellie," he said, his voice going soft. "We all are," Dale added. From the stairs, the soft rustling of cloth. The sound of footsteps turning and plodding up the stairs and down the hall. A heartbeat later, a door closed and a key clicked in a lock. "I didn't know those doors had keys," Dale whispered. "They don't," I told him. "Not anymore." I folded Mr. Blake's letter and slipped it into my bag. "Maybe Truman Baker did tamper with that car," I said. "But there's no way to prove it. Not now." "No way to prove what?" a voice behind us asked. I wheeled to the open door. There stood Detective Joe Starr, Red Baker by his side. "Arrest her!" Red Baker said, and pointed at me. And that's the end of chapter 31.